Welcome to Entrepreneurs, Executives, and Eccentrics, a podcast dedicated to the stories, strategies, and secrets of remarkable individuals. Join us as we engage in enlightening conversations with intriguing entrepreneurs, accomplished executives, and fascinating eccentrics, exploring their journeys, triumphs, and the unconventional wisdom that has shaped their success. In this episode, we talk with Mel McSherry, an international business and life guide known for using human design to help entrepreneurs work in ways that fit them. We cover why copying other people's frameworks leads to burnout. Mel explains how to spot what drains your energy and what supports it. We also look at how to use pauses and transitions to make steady, clear choices.
Hello, Mel. Tell me who you are and what you do.
Hey, Scott. So I am an international business and life guide. I utilize a tool called human design in partnership with traditional business development tools and frameworks to help inspired yet overwhelmed entrepreneurs honor their lives and become the true architects of their success.
Okay, let's drill into that a little bit. What do you mean by frameworks, first of all, and then kind of what is your 10,000-foot view?
Yeah, sure. So as an entrepreneur, I've been an entrepreneur since 2010. And so there have been a lot of frameworks, formulas, suggestions that have been, introduced to me throughout the last 15 plus years. And yet it's so easy for us to get overwhelmed by all of it because we don't really truly understand what works best with us or for us. So it's a lot of trial and learning. And all of these frameworks have a profitability point to them, whether that's mentally, emotionally, and or financially. But yet we either get overconsumed by them or we get overwhelmed by how to implement them. And so what I love to do is utilize a tool called human design that shows you how you best process your information, how you make your decisions, how much energy you have, where it comes from. So you can look at all these very supportive frameworks and tools from traditional spaces and teach yourself how to customize them so they work the best for you.
If y'all were designing a house, right? Or better yet, I was renovating a house and I didn't even know what the house was. I didn't really understand the bones of the house. How could I possibly choose how I want to make the house or what are the options are,
Exactly.
right? And this is kind of the
Exactly.
know thyself, right? How
Yeah.
am I going to choose a framework? And if I don't know where I am, right, in terms of what I respond best to, and does that sound about
Exactly.
right? Okay, well, let's talk about
Yeah.
example then.
Yeah. So, for example, myself. So, as I mentioned, I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years. And though I didn't start in this industry, I actually started in the fitness industry. When I merged into the business coaching space, I got really overwhelmed by everything that I think I needed to do. And I fully subscribed to a mentor, copy and pasted, what they presented to me, what they did to create the business, the money, and the life that they wanted. And though on paper, it worked really well. I was making six figures. I was traveling all over the world and speaking. Internally, I felt so disconnected to who I am, how I was bringing this about. In fact, the fact that I was quote unquote successful did not feel nice. It felt really uncomfortable, but I wasn't sure where the disconnect was because I was doing, like I mentioned, everything correctly. And I think that is something we get caught up in entrepreneurship, especially, is that we just think it's this one person or this one tool that's going to magically fix everything instead of really understanding how we best work and trusting how we best work. And so when human design, which is the tool that I've mentioned, I say found me, I was in that predicament of, okay, on paper, crushing it, inside, burning out like crazy. And what it did is it showed me where I went too far. It showed me how to take those practices that already made me quote unquote successful and make them sustainable. And now I'm able to step into my business knowing fully and confidently who I am and how I'm meant to create the business, the money, and the life that I want, and base my decisions off of that self-trust as opposed to fear, scarcity, emotional reactions.
So there's a book called Crossing the Chasm.
Ooh,
And
I
it's
haven't heard
it's
of
kind
that
of like
one.
it's kind of a it's probably it's like the beginning of why your SaaS product sucks. It's been
Mm.
that whole slew of books that came out
Yeah,
or why
yeah.
your service isn't selling. And in the book, it talks the chasm specifically, right? is this
Hmm.
idea that there's this jump between the early adopters and people who are actual pragmatists, right? If you were
Mm,
fighting off Vikings for years and some salesman comes along and says, "I've got a perfect sword for you," you're going to buy
yeah,
it because you're desperate, right? And that was
right.
the people that kind of the early adopters. And I think people have made fortunes on that quick fix. Let me sell you a
Absolutely.
framework. Let me sell you a SaaS product that's going to solve all your problems, right?
Yeah.
And it's just not real,
60K in
or at least
60 seconds and just follow these two things and you're set for life. Yep, absolutely.
that's right. That's right. And that low barrier to entry. Oh, it's just so easy. Oh, look at my
Yeah.
success rate and all that, right?
Right.
And but pragmatists are like, okay, show me the last 30 people you've done this for. Right.
Yeah.
And then it gets much
Yeah.
harder to go from the early adopters who are getting killed by Vikings, right? To the long-term adopter, the much larger group out there, right? And I feel like that is and I think this all stems from not understanding really yourself as an entrepreneur if
Absolutely.
you're a single person, but also not really understanding the real problems that you're trying to address.
Agreed. Because we can be pressured into, oh, well, you did this one thing this one time. So therefore, that's what you're an expert in. Let's create a whole framework off of that. And I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs get caught up in that because they're sweet talks to, because they're solicited by people who actually are out there for themselves. They're not exactly out there to help you create what you want. They're there to just help with their bottom line. And so we get caught up in this romantic idea of, oh, I just need to go viral and everything is fine. Or, yeah, you did this one thing this one time. Let's create an entire framework for it. Instead of really coming back to, well, what is the longevity of it for me? What are the things that I do love to solve for people? How are the best ways that I solve it? And so it's coming back to, yes, everybody and their mother has an opinion, a framework, a funnel, a bleh, but you're the only one that really knows how that works best for you. And even to your point of the person who, yes, have done it for themselves, that's because they customized the information that they had to themselves. So it's not exactly a copy and paste for their success as well. It's knowing that they've been there, done that, and have tools and suggestions, but you need to do the exact same thing they did. You need to take that information and make it your own to your practices for your people and for your purposes.
I often say that COVID changed many people's trajectories and
Yeah.
that it turns out we could always work from home, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you also have that like turn on the road during COVID as well? Or were you doing this well before that?
No, I've been fully virtual and remote since 2015. But what COVID did do is it actually helped me put a reset button for myself. I'm here in the Chicago area, so our lockdown was forever and a day long. I also have an amazing teenage son who is autistic, who did a year and a half of virtual learning. So during that year and a half, I was his gen ed teacher, his special ed teacher, his occupational therapist, his speech therapist, and trying to maintain and, create a successful or maintain a successful business. And though we survived through that very well, it nipped me in the bud in 2023 when my nervous system just completely needed a reset because I hadn't really fully understood my best practices. I didn't start utilizing human design for myself until late 2020 into 2021. And it took me a bit to really understand my boundaries, really my energetic boundaries, not just the ones that I could create through automation or, in the moment of. It was really creating that practical and profitable practice for myself. And that's what 2023 ended up being. I ended up putting my business on autopilot and taking a step to the side, really addressing my mental and emotional health. And with using human design as a consistent support and resource for myself, I was able to step into 2024 with my business just completely doing a 180 in a positive way and being able to create a sustainable success that now excites me and motivates me without the burnouts.
Yeah, it just feels like you're in first gear, like you're in first gear. Your
Yeah.
engine's revving 1,000 RPMs, barely making it. Like you're moving,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
as it turns out, you're burning up everything inside to get there, right? And
Absolutely. And you
and by
think you
having to
have
take
to
care,
do that.
right, right,
Yeah.
because that's what you've been told your whole life. Your whole life, you're like, well, people work 12-hour days. They're first in the office and last to leave, right?
Exactly.
Which is definitely how I was brought up, and I've definitely worked at places where the boss always made note of who was there first and who was there
Mhm.
late or whatever. And it just, I know it's not really formulaic for personal success, right? You're just going to get your ass kicked. You'll do fine. You can do fine.
Exactly.
Or you
Yeah,
could not.
yeah,
You
yeah.
could also fail too, but you burn yourself up along the way.
Yeah, and you really do think it's a rite of passage. You think it's something that you have to experience or continue to experience in order to be fully worthy of whatever success you're looking for. And we're in a different trajectory. You mentioned it earlier. COVID really did set a reset button for a lot of us, not only in our best practices, but also in what do we want? What is it that makes us happy? What is it that makes us feel seen, heard, complete, all those things? And it gave us a chance to really reflect on our decisions and make those initial changes or shifts due to that awareness of, oh yeah, I actually do like working remote. I am a lot more productive. I never knew that before. Even in social aspects, I know for myself, I went from really loving large groups to, you know what, I kind of don't anymore. And that actually has been a huge savior in my time and energy. So it's those little things. Brendan Burchard has a great quote. He says it's the little things you do every day that make the biggest difference. And it is those little things that when you bring that awareness that comes from you first and what you want and how you are designed to create what you want, then all of a sudden it is easier to say no to those things that truly aren't meant for you.
Yeah, you gotta love the whole like I've convinced myself I'm a people person, or I've convinced myself I'm not a morning person, or I've convinced
Right.
myself that I really love going into the office, right? And you
Yeah.
you step back for a minute, you're like, I freaking hate people, right? What am I doing? I don't want to be around. I don't want to do this, right? Or
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or like, oh my God, that drive to work is killing me. And you never really realize it until
Yeah.
you had like a minute to not do it.
Exactly. It's those reframes. And the more that we can do that for ourselves, and that's why I think that's why I do use human design, because it is that reframing tool. It's that, oh, yeah, that's why this didn't work. Or, oh, that's right. These are my best practices. Because we're human. We understand and absorb a lot. And also, we still trial and learn a ton. And so it is that humanistic element to it of, yes, you probably know all these things. Yes, you're listening probably and nodding, going, yep, yep, yep. And things happen. You make your best decisions with the best information that you have. So it is those moments of pausing and reframing and reestablishing what you know to be true about yourself, what you want, and how you want this to look and feel day in, day out.
I don't remember the name of the book. I don't remember the name of the framework. I don't remember. It's been a while. My mom has been dead for almost 7 or 8 years. But, years ago, she got on this kind of, I don't really know if it's an ancient Chinese philosophy, but it had roots in it, right? And I
Hmm.
just poo-pooed it. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's just ridiculous. And then I started noticing that all the things that she was talking about really mapped to personality types. I'm like, oh, so it's not necessarily it does. You know what I'm saying? It does have you oh, that one word you've been using is really just this type of human, right? And it was just a different way of really describing the kind of mental states and who we are and how we do things and how we receive information and how we hate it and how we like it and whatever, right?
Hmm.
So what is human design? Is that almost a similar human design is that also a similar type of root? Like where does that come from?
Exactly. Yeah, so it's actually a combination of astrology, Kabbalah, I Ching, chakras, and quantum physics.
Yep.
And it shows you.
My mom, and I'm like, this is ridiculous, right? I'm like, wait a minute, that sure sounds like a personality type test that I took like a couple of years ago, and that's I meant to
Well,
it,
it's
right?
yeah, it's deeper than a personality test. It's in that same realm. I always like to picture it as, we hear a lot about Enneagrams and strength finders and all these things. And though those all give you really gorgeous information, those are the tip of the iceberg, that those can be shifted due to conditioning, training, trauma, and so forth. Human design is what's underneath the iceberg. It is the foundations of your processes, your boundaries, your strengths, and your strategies. And so it shows you where everything has stemmed from or have gone too far into. And it is, as I mentioned earlier, such a great operations manual to have, because it allows you to look back at yourself and go, okay, did this again, or, oh, that's where this came from. And it's those little shifts of awareness that allow you to make newer decisions with this new information and gives you so much more confidence in your how. I always say human design is the why behind your how. Simon Sinek has, lovingly and awesomely coined your why, which is extremely important. Where we get overwhelmed and where we tend to stop ourselves is in the how. And when you truly have an identifier of what that how is to you, and by the way, you already know it, but you just don't typically trust it because you don't have the vernacular, you don't have the proof. It might be weird or eccentric, to steal a line from the title of your podcast or so forth, but it's yours. And so it's taking that trust of, I know this is me, I know how to put this into practice. Then again, you can create that sustainable success that is profitable for you day in and day out, mentally, emotionally, and financially.
Yeah, I find there's a fine, no, not fine line. There's actually an ocean difference between religion and philosophy, right? And this feels like philosophical type thoughts, right? This is a philosophy, and then you kind of overlay frameworks, and you're like, well, I think I feel this way now. Whether it's filtered through some kind of kind of philosophy, it still kind of can lead you in the right direction, right? What kind of
Absolutely.
humans are you typically working with, right? And then the second part of that question is, what are these things you keep seeing over and over again? Because we're all humans are all similar in some ways, really different in others, but I would
Right.
imagine entrepreneurial mistakes are pretty similar.
Yeah. So I typically work with people who I like to say are in hallways in their life and business, or transitional spaces. A great quote that I love. They said that we talk often about the doors of opportunity, but rarely do we talk about the hallways in between. And that's where I love to be. We try to push through those hallways. We try to pretend like they're not there and just go straight to the door of opportunity. But really, there's such beautiful spaces for you to reflect, to recalibrate, to really understand what you learned in that last doorway, what you want, or especially what you don't want in the next one. And it gives you that pause and that space to reconnect, or possibly for the first time, truly connect to who you are and what you want. And one of the bigger, I'd say, disconnects, or, quote unquote mistakes, would be that people don't take the time to pause. They just want to jump to the next level. They just want to start the next thing because they don't want to seem lazy or unmotivated or unsuccessful. And it's in those pauses, it's in those hallways where we make our most profitable decisions and introspections in ourselves. It's that time where you can really make sure that you don't do this again, and or gives you that space and that permission to try something new because maybe you didn't have the capacity in your last space. And so like I said, one of those bigger mistakes is rushing through these transitional spaces. And I would say probably the other one is the overwhelm of the how. A lot of my clients who are in many different spaces in entrepreneurship, I have HR, I have recruiters, I have coaches, I have creatives, but they all have this same overwhelm of, okay, but I know I don't want to do this, but I think I should. Like, they should all over themselves. And I think a lot of us do that. And instead of just shoulding and then trying to figure it out later, or continue to keep shoulding, it's like the definition of insanity, right? Trying the same thing over and over again with different results. They take that moment and go, oh, I now know who I am because I've seen it in my human design. Mel has guided me through this. This is why this worked. This is why this didn't. This is repeatable. Let's start with that, and really give you that deep confidence in your process so you can really step into that next doorway, not only understanding what's on the other side, but how you want to design it once you're in it.
I believe that I saw you on a podcast had the word genius in it. Something genius, something
On a
live your
podcast.
live your genius. Right, right. But what you said is that the reason, the impetus for me contacting you is, I believe you said something along the lines of this: you thought you wanted money, but it turns out you wanted freedom, right? And
Yeah.
it's like you thought one thing, but it really was just an overlay for what you're trying to get to. It wasn't the
Yeah.
thing and then you start working so hard for money, but the problem is the whole time you really wanted to be free. And now you're working
Absolutely.
12-hour days, and now you barely got either because you're just exhausted and you're just doing all the things,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
so with that said, when you first, is that what you're really trying to do when you first meet these poor souls, or trying to guide them through it, right? In that it's really what you want, but how you receive it. How are you actually doing that? How are you physically walking them through, kind of identifying what their real goals are and how they really should be doing things?
Well, first and foremost, it's flipping that hierarchy of needs. So that interview that you were talking about, I was talking about how we tend to, especially as entrepreneurs, use numbers and money as the main motivator, as the top of the goal board, right? Money is not a bad thing. Love it, need it, want more of it. However, that doesn't create a sustainable motivation because we are consistently measuring ourselves with productivity, as opposed to if we flipped that. And also, what we think, if we get that money, then to your point, life is going to be easy. I'm going to be happier. Everything's going to be holly jolly. And what I love to do is first flip that hierarchy. So we're looking for that mental and emotional profitability points first. And so when the financial comes through, it's fluid, it's easeful, and it's a bonus. And what that does is it allows people to find those glimmers throughout the day. It really creates that sustainability for people. So one of the bigger things that I do with my clients is to me, obviously, asking them, what are your biggest sticking points? What are the walls you keep coming up against? What are the things that you are berating yourself for or fighting against inside of yourself? And let's really see, what are your best practices? What pieces of that are actually true? And what are the ones that are just total crap that we can just bless and release and move on? So it's getting them first to really see and get the validation and confirmation of what they already know to be true, and with that, start solidifying practices, start solidifying that vernacular so they can consistently and authentically utilize them throughout the day with less overwhelm, with less of that, oh, should I? I don't know. It's nope, this is a hell no. Yep, this is a hell yes. Let's keep moving on, and to create that ease inside of it, but a pace that is sustainable and is 100% theirs.
I find the gray areas where I get in trouble, right? Right, when I'm kinda stuck in the middle, or like, "Oh, I don't really know how I feel about that." And but I also and then I also notice the hard and fast yes and no's is like, I don't know, you're just more you're happy because now you can kinda push that decision off and just kinda move on to the next thing. It's the gray areas, just like, you spend days
And
or
that's
weeks
where I
and
love to be.
commiserating,
And I love to be in the gray area with people because
right?
it is uncomfortable and we go through them often. So being able to support somebody through that so they don't just make a decision to make a decision, or don't do anything because they're so overwhelmed by the decision. How can they navigate through that gray area? Because a lot of those gray areas are just you waiting for more information. 90% of us have an element of wait inside of human design: wait to respond, wait to be recognized. And inside of that waiting time is gorgeous time for you to solidify your best practices, your routines, your knowledge, and so forth. And so it's those gray areas that I feel are actually your most profitable spaces. And it's ones that you should learn to be comfortably uncomfortable inside of.
What were you doing before this? Like, how did you find this road? How did you
Was
get
that?
here?
I was actually in the fitness industry. I was a certified personal trainer and I did in home trainings, outdoor boot camps, bridal boot camps, whole 9 yards. And then when my son was born, it was extremely difficult to maintain that type of business, especially when it came to traveling to people's homes. I was married at the time. His father worked in Major League Baseball. He was gone all the time, traveled with a team, so on and so forth. And so I ended up actually taking a step to the side, putting a pin in my fitness business and moving to some online platforms just to make some money. So I did some VA work for a couple IT companies. I did some online medical billing for my father's company, which was oh so fun. But it gave me that space to reframe, to go, okay, now that I am a mom and I'm trying to figure this out, how is it? What do I want? How do I want to create my business with this time and energy that I have? And that came into fruition as a partnership with the online network marketing company called Beachbody. I was an online health and fitness coach for them. And I really wanted to just stick to the fitness side of it. In network marketing, there's a lot of hey girl messages. There's a lot of pressure to, build a team. And that wasn't in my wheelhouse at the time. I just wanted to be a health and fitness coach. And I did it really well. In fact, I was successful so quickly that the leader at the time pulled me aside and she's like, look, we coined myself a married single mom. She's like, you're this married single mom. You're consistent in your sales. How are you doing this? Like, can you create a quick day in the life of Mel training? And it's funny because I really didn't think I was doing anything different. I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. My father has been an entrepreneur since day one. Both my grandfathers were. And so I had a lot of examples of what not to do. And what I decided to do differently was, yes, time management is important, but I also layered energy management on top of it. So it looked like this, where I would, and I still do this to this day, wake up in the morning, check in on myself. How did I sleep? How am I feeling? How much time do I have to devote to my business today? Look at my to-do list and slot in the things in my to-do list that matched both of those. And what that did was that gave me the permission to, take my business bit by bit, but still be consistent inside of it, as well as just honor, again, my time and energy. So when we put that into the new coach boot camp, all of a sudden her team's productivity exploded. People then just wanted to be on a team with me. Fast forward a year later, we're in the top 1% of the company teams wise. I'm doing trainings on this all throughout Beachbody. I also did some network marketing companies outside of Beachbody on the down low. And then in 2015, I was in the middle of my divorce with one foot in this business coaching aspect, the other foot in fitness, neither going anywhere. And beautifully through Beachbody, I was introduced to John C. Maxwell and had a year-long internship underneath him. And that really gave me the insight into what business coaching is. And it really gave me that next step, that new information. So I got
What is business coaching then? What is it really,
Ooh,
right? What is it? Because
that's a
there's a
great
whole,
question.
yeah.
So I actually don't even use the term coach anymore. I prefer the term guide, because to me, and I grew up in sports, to me, a coach is somebody that comes in with a set agenda, with a set rules, with set strategies, and you work those strategies and those things, not to death. I mean, in sports, you kind of do, but you come with a set framework, you come with set expectations, and you stay within those guidelines. And that is one of the things that I did appreciate about John Maxwell, is that he is more than that. He teaches you that you're not the end all be all expert. You are there to guide, you're there to support, you're there to be a resource and a facilitator. However, I did lean too far into that very structured control style coaching when I hired my first mentor in 2017. And I know that is why I experienced that first kind of burnout in 2020, because I was trying to be this pigeonholed, not personable. I mean, I was personable, but keep it professional, not personal kind of space holding that I just felt so limited into. But I didn't know that there was other options out there, because again, we tend to see these successful coaches, quote unquote, saying the same things over and over again, having the same framework, being known for a specific foundational thing. And it can be more than that. Yes, they have these foundations, but they also play inside of it. They experiment, they write books, that expand more and more on those frameworks. And what I think we tend to do, and what I think coaching can sometimes be, is too pigeonholed, is too lemming style. And so that is why, to me, I use the term guide, but I really think business coaching is somebody that can come in, and it's not about shoving something down your throat. It's more about being that cheerleader. How can they support you? How can they help you build what you want and give you the insight, the angles, the resources that you didn't have access to or the capacity to even look at, because you hadn't experienced all that we have. I've experienced a ton in 15 years. I'm experiencing more as I continue on. And I love sharing those insights and those stories and those resources, because I've been there, done that, got divorce papers, t-shirt, whole nine yards.
It's funny that there's been several times in my life where, like, oh, this one person's really killing it in the organization in sales or whatever, right? And then you go in and you do a little bit of research, like, oh, they're just following the instructions really
Yeah.
closely. Right. And I also find this is really a male female thing, right? I find that dudes do not do anything like that. We don't do anything. We're dumb. We're so dumb when it comes to like following these rules. We know better, right? We'll do better. And then you're like, and then the other people are just crushing it because they're just following the instructions. They're just doing what the system is supposed to do. But Anyway, I mean, it's not here nor there. It's just really more of a statement.
And
But
it's interesting too, though, because you say that yeah, they're crushing it, but are they really, like, holistically as an entire person on paper, like I experienced? Yes, they might be, but also they might be hating what they're doing or really feeling stuck or in a cycle. And so it is. I love the misfits. I love the change makers. I love the rebels. I love the people that want to do things differently because they know this is we get one life, and yes, we can make it into many different things, but the thing is that you want to make it yours. And I think that's another thing that COVID has really helped us understand is the fact that everything that we enjoy can be taken away very quickly, and we're left to our own devices. So how can we really rely on ourselves and not in a overwhelming or pressure-filled way, but how can we just be really comfortable with ourselves that even if everything else was taken away, we still know we have enough to create what we want?
so we are almost out of time, and I typically ask one last question, and the question I've asked, General Petraeus of the CIA. I've asked, CEO of Disney. I've asked several people this question, and it's
Mhm.
selfish. The reason it's selfish is because I have a 17-year-old son who's getting ready to apply for college, and I don't know what the hell we're gonna do. What would you do if you were 17 years old tomorrow and you had the same knowledge, right? None of the pull, none of the experience, but you had basically the same knowledge, and you're kind of seeing a change in the world. What would you
Mhm.
do?
Honestly, looking back, because I graduated high school at 17, and I would I would trust myself more of where I actually wanted to go. I tried to do the traditional thing. I tried to do the college thing. It did not work for me. It turned into actually being accepted to a theater school in Seattle, Washington, and never living there, never being there during my life, and moving there at 19, not knowing anyone, not having a job, and really creating, for myself what I thought I wanted. So I would say at 17, what would I do? I would take a minute and really ask myself, what do I want? And not from a perspective of, yes, parents want the best. And yes, there's this insight, but it's that invitation to you are graduating, you are on your own. My son's actually starting high school. It scares the crap out of me, but it is that fear, for lack of a better term, that you want them to make the best decisions, and we have to let go and honor their trust in themselves as much as they need to let go and honor the trust in themselves. So I would say at 17, trust yourself. If there's enough information for you to make a profitable decision in, try it. Give it a go. You can always come back. You can always do things again another time, but there's only that one time to make that decision in the space you are now. Go for it.
Excellent answer. I wouldn't be nervous about him going to high school. This is the kindest generation I've ever come in contact with. They
That's
know
good to
they've had
hear.
access to the internet longer than anybody else alive. They've they operate differently. I'm Gen X. We
Mm.
are all a bunch of wolves, and then we
I'm in
get
that middle.
what?
I'm
Yeah,
44, so yeah.
yeah. That those people are no longer in our high schools. But for whatever reason, I've just come
Yeah,
across mostly very understanding, kind humans. I don't know how to
I love
explain it.
that.
I'm hoping this generation is going to save the world. Mel, thank you very much for doing this,
Scott,
and I will make sure to add all of your propaganda and social media links onto this episode. And thank you for doing this.
thank you for having me.
Thank you.